So Avowed has been out for a little over a week now, and the reception to the game has been somewhere between mixed and indifferent. And I think one of the big reasons that Avowed is failing to resonate with the core RPG audience is that the game is a bit shallow on its RPG mechanics, especially when compared to Obsidian's past games such as Fallout New Vegas and The Outer Worlds. So let's do a bit of a comparison, shall we? In this video, we're going to take a look at Fallout New Vegas, which Obsidian released in 2010, and compare it to Avowed. Specifically, I want to focus on comparing the companions, world interactivity, skill checks, and player choice. And while you're watching the video, I want you to keep in the back of your mind that Fallout New Vegas was developed in just 18 months, while Avowed was in production for roughly 6 years. Just something to ponder. What's up, everyone? Big Dan here. I make videos about RPGs, so if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Without further ado, let's buckle up, grab some iced coffee, and dive into the video. So let's kick things off with world interactivity. This is something that is sorely lacking in Avowed, and was one of the more disappointing aspects of the game for me, considering just how much players could impact the world in past Obsidian titles like The Outer Worlds and New Vegas. In Fallout New Vegas, if you attacked an NPC or got caught stealing an item, they would take notice and become hostile. Also, there were no immortal NPCs. If you wanted to, you could kill any NPC in the game, including potential companions, quest givers, and characters who played a major role in the game's story. In Avowed, there is no crime system, and it's impossible to kill or damage NPCs in any way, unless they are specifically marked as enemies or become hostile during quests. And not only do they take no damage, they have zero reaction at all. Bethesda games like Starfield and Skyrim have lots of invincible NPCs that the player cannot kill, but they will at least react to you shooting or hitting them. On the polar opposite end of the spectrum, it is possible to beat the entirety of Fallout New Vegas without killing a single NPC. It does require a bit of finagling, and you will have to sneak or run past some hostile characters, but if you want to do a pacifist run, it is totally possible. You can even bypass the final boss fight of the game if you have 100 speech. This is not possible in Avowed. While you can run past a lot of the mobs in the game, there are certain enemies that you will need to kill in order to unlock doors to progress through the main quest. So a pacifist run is impossible. The only interactions you can have with the world of Avowed are looting, solving puzzles, dialogue, and combat. That's basically it. And while the combat and core gameplay loop of Avowed is very fun, the ways in which we can interact with the world are painfully limited compared to a game like New Vegas.
You here to pay your respects too? It commemorates the Battle of Hoover Dam. The Rangers lured the best of Caesar's Legion into Boulder City, then blew the whole town up. What the fuck are you doing? My brother died at the Battle of Hoover Dam. You're desecrating a war memorial. Oh, now it's on!
There was one moment in the latter half of Avowed which really pissed me off. While exploring the third map, you can stumble upon a man faking an illness and calling out for help. When you approach him, a bunch of his bandit homies jump out of the bushes and ambush you. So in my second playthrough, I thought I'd be clever and sneak up on the bandits. Ain't nobody gonna gank me this time. But you know what happens if you sneak up on the bandits? Nothing. You can't attack them or deal any damage. You can only kill them once they pop out of the bushes and start the ambush. What kind of bullshit is that, bro?
Is anyone there? Get them!
Kai, stop right there! And to the right!
I was reminded of a similar ambush in Fallout New Vegas. While following the road out of Nipton, there's a group of Viper gang members who will attack you in the canyon. But if you've played the game before or happen to spot them before they see you, then you can sneak up onto the rocks and get the drop on them. New Vegas doesn't make you wait until the ambush begins to start the fight, unlike Avowed. New Vegas also has much deeper mechanics than Avowed when it comes to faction dynamics. In Avowed, you will meet a lot of different factions factions like the Steel Garrote, Paradisen Rebels, etc., but there's no way that we actually engage with these factions in gameplay. Sometimes you can make decisions in the main story and side quests that will anger or please particular factions, which is good, but in most cases it doesn't really impact anything outside of some dialogue. The only exception I can think of is some of the vendors in Thirdborn raised their prices after I made some quest choices that negatively impacted the town. In Fallout New Vegas, your character has a reputation score with each faction in the game that will rise or fall based on decisions you make in the game world. Having a high faction reputation can lead to characters giving you free items or discounted merchandise. You can also get them to speak more freely about certain topics, which can open up new quests or alternate solutions to quests. On the other hand, having a low faction reputation will cause members of that group to basically be like, "It's on site, bro." On top of this, the game has a faction armor and disguise system, which you can use to infiltrate certain areas you typically wouldn't have access to, or unlock certain conversation options. Some companions will also refuse to work with you depending on your faction allegiance, but I'll touch on that more later in the video. Vault 3 is a location in New Vegas that is overrun by a faction known as the Fiends, which is basically a gang of crackheads. There are a couple of quests that will send you to Vault 3, but the Fiends won't just let you waltz into the vault, unless you can pass a speech check. But one clever way to bypass this speech skill check is to put on a Great Khan's outfit, which is another gang the Fiends do business with. So wearing the right faction armor can allow you to gain access to the vault without having to fight your way through a bunch of junkies with plasma rifles. Avowed doesn't have anything like this. There's no faction disguise system, no faction reputation system, hell, no reputation system, period. But another big part of both New Vegas and Avowed are the companions. So let's take a closer look at how we interact with these characters. Avowed has 4 companions who will join us on our journey, compared to 8 characters in Fallout New Vegas, 6 if we don't count the robot and the dog. All of Avowed's companions are mandatory. We can't choose to not recruit any of them or kick them out of our party. And there are no decisions we can make that will piss them off enough to leave us or become hostile, with the exception of one specific choice at the very end of the game. Let's see how Marius reacts when we destroy his hometown with lava near the end of the game.
Stupid Drago. I can't believe it. No!
You Adiran Kamayu. Take a few more moments to think closely before you go destroying your friends' homes next time. What about those who wanted to stay there, huh? What life are they free to live now? I don't get why you think you have the right to decide what every person in Solace needs. Who the fuitu do you think you are? Agree to bleste disagree.
That's it, a couple of pissy conversations. Hey, sorry I destroyed your hometown. It's all lava under the bridge though, right? Compare this with Boone in Fallout New Vegas. Boone is a soldier in the NCR, and he has a deep hatred of Caesar's Legion for both personal and political reasons. If you even approach a Legion camp with Boone in your party, he pulls you aside and says this.
We're near a Legion slave camp now. I've been here before. Let's get one thing straight. I see any crimson, I'm taking a shot. You don't like that, you're on your own. Okay, but let's make sure and come back here. I'd love to wipe this place off the map.
And Homeboy is not joking. If you get anywhere near the Legion, he will start indiscriminately firing on them.
All mine.
So if you want to do any Legion quest content, then you literally have to dismiss Boone from your party while you do it. Some companions or potential companions will literally try to kill you, depending on your faction reputation. For instance, if you wipe out the Brotherhood of Steel before meeting Veronica, then instead of joining your party, she's like, "Catch these hands."
God, you're not lying, are you? You really did kill them. In that case, this is for them.
And the potential betrayals don't stop there. You can sell one of your companions into slavery, you can sacrifice a companion to a group of cannibals, and there is even a quest to specifically sell out your companion Cass to a group of gun runners.
Hi, I'm John Baptiste, and you're about to stop being a pain in my ass. Oh, that was fun. Did you see the look on that bitch's face? Priceless.
Avowed doesn't even have a fraction of the type of interactions that you can have with companions in New Vegas, which led to a very disappointing experience in this dynamic for me. Skill checks in Avowed are also painfully shallow compared to Fallout New Vegas. Avowed has 6 attributes, which occasionally show up as skill checks in dialogue. Fallout New Vegas has 7 attributes and 13 different skills, including explosives, speech, lockpicking, etc., not to mention a whole lot of perks that sometimes will give us skill checks as well. Skill checks in New Vegas usually unlock new options in quests and conversations. For instance, during Ghost Town Gunfight, Doc Mitchell will give you free stimpaks if your medicine skill is high enough, and Easy Pete will give you free dynamite if your explosive skill is high enough. Another example is using a skill check to get into the New Vegas Strip. Usually you need to have a passport or 2,000 caps, but one way to bypass this requirement is to hack the security robot with a high science skill. Unlike New Vegas, most skill checks in Avowed simply provide flavor dialogue. In most cases, they have zero impact on the actual quest or conversation. The one exception I can think of off the top of my head is during the quest One Last Drink. If your resolve skill is high enough, you can persuade Ruanga to meet her former captain in Thirdborn, which opens up the option to either poison him or poison Ruanga, leading to different endings for the quest. This was a cool outcome, but unfortunately, these kinds of skill checks are few and far between in Avowed. While there are a good amount of significant narrative and quest choices that the player can make in Avowed, many of these decisions are strictly on rails. The player doesn't have much freedom to think outside the box and search for unique ways to solve a particular problem. And I think the best comparison I can make is how we deal with the assassin Eagwolf versus Benny in Fallout New Vegas. There are a lot of parallels between these two main quest objectives. At the beginning of Fallout New Vegas, our main character is shot in the head by a dude named Benny. And a big part of our quest in Act 1 is to track down and confront the shady checkered suit-wearing man. There are a ton of different ways you can deal with Benny when you finally track him down in New Vegas. In fact, the first video I ever posted on this YouTube channel, almost 6 years ago at this point, walks you through all the different ways you can deal with Benny. You can just walk in and shoot him, you can gather evidence of his crimes, and convince one of his underlings to send him alone to his suite, allowing you to get the drop on him. You can negotiate a deal with him, you can even sleep with him if you're a female character, and take the opportunity to kill him. And if he gets away, there's a whole other scenario where you can deal with him at the Legion Fort later on, which has a bunch of additional choices. It's staggering how much freedom of choice you have in your quest to deal with Benny. So, how does Avowed stack up? Well, we are confronted with an eerily similar scenario in Act 1. Our character gets killed by a mystery assassin, and we're brought back to life in a literal Deus Ex Machina. So our first big main quest is to find the guy who killed us and bring him to justice. But when we eventually track him down, we just have 2 choices. We either spare him and leave, or we kill him. That's it. And sure, we do get some different consequences depending on our choice, but we still only have 2 choices here. And these choices can only be approached in the exact same linear way once we find Eagwolf. Again, it comes back to the world interactivity and the skill checks. We as a player just don't have as much agency in Avowed when compared to other games made by the same studio in the past. The last example I want to touch on is a side quest in the 3rd region of the game. You stumble upon a ghost town and hear screams of a banshee-like creature in a blocked-off well. After finding your way into the mine entrance, you discover that a group of Adiran researchers are experimenting on the Dream Scourge, which, if you haven't played the game, they're basically zombies. This type of research is punishable by death, so the 3 researchers are plotting what to do next. You can either petition to get them supplies so they can run off on their own, you can kill the Dream Scourge to cover up evidence of their crimes, or you can kill them and put them out of their misery before they get punished by the Steel Garrote. But if you choose the last option, you can only kill one of the researchers. The other 2 just run off and they're completely immune to damage. So I was just left there scratching my head like, what the fuck was that ending? What kind of choice is that, dude? So at the end of the day, while I enjoyed Avowed for what it is, I sunk over 80 hours into the game after all and had a lot of fun doing so, I can't help but notice the stark drop in depth when compared to other games made by the same studio in the past, including The Outer Worlds, which I'll have another comparison video on that in the near future. I don't know if it was the troubled development of the game, or the lack of a consistent creative vision, or something else, but Avowed ended up not meeting the quality bar I've come to expect from Obsidian games. So there you have it. We've taken a look at two games made by the same studio, 15 years apart. If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to Big Dan Gaming for more RPG videos. Big shout out to all the channel members for supporting my content. Until next time, this has been Big Dan. I should go.
Patrolling the Mojave almost makes you wish for a nuclear winter.